in Belgium. Finally, it's time for the DTM. The sun is shining and we're back in Zolder after 17 years. It all started here in 1984, and then since 2002 we haven't been back, and now we're really excited. And the man who's starting in pole is Marco Wittmann, so I bet you're really excited too. Tell me the character of the Zolder circuit. How fantastic is it for you to be racing here?
Yeah, it's definitely great fun. You know, it's quite challenging, especially Sector 2, Sector 3, where it's very narrow, slow speed corners, chicanes. It's quite tricky, I have to say. Also a bit tricky to overtake. That will be interesting in the race. But yeah, I mean, starting from pole is definitely a good start.
So you have a good feeling for winning this race here in Zolder?
Yeah, that would be great, definitely. I mean, first of all, we need to get a good start on the race, and then we see. But yeah, as I said, starting from front row is always great.
Absolutely. So best of luck, Marco. Thank you so much. And now to the commentator.
Thank you so much, Verena. Well, Marco certainly did nail it in qualifying. Mega Marco put the car pole position, of course, to back up the fact that he won race 1 at Hockenheim in the opening round. The chairman of the DTM, Mr. Gerhard Berger, then taking a look at Mike Rockenfeller's car. Now, that is not his qualifying position. Mike Rockenfeller will be starting from the back of the pack. Why? He had a problem with his clutch, and they were working on it, as you can see. And having to work on the car in Perc Ferme conditions means that you go to the back of the grid. So risk versus reward. They had to work on the car. It means that he starts from the back of the grid. It also means that there is the potential there for the Audi Sport Team Phoenix to roll a strategy that perhaps they wouldn't with Mike Rockenfeller, because he'll be going right from the back of the grid. Let's see how it plays out. Weather conditions absolutely lovely at the moment, and we're expecting it to stay this way today, not expecting the weather to be quite as good tomorrow. And therefore that may play into the strategic use of the tyre allowance that is made to the DTM drivers. This is Ferdinand Habsburg. Saw him just a few moments ago as I was making my way into the TV compound doing his warm-up exercises. Another one that will have done them ready for the race is, of course, the Audi driver, Robin Fri'nds, who we hear from now.
And I'm here with a Dutchman, with Robin Fri'nds. You're actually Dutch, but you live just half an hour away from Zolder, so that's very convenient. And you were in a chocolate manufactory really nearby in Belgium. And so my question now, of course, is do you have a sweet tooth?
Fortunately, I do. I adore chocolate, so if there's on the dessert chocolate lava cake, it's very hard for me to say no about it.
I know the feeling. Now, today you're starting in P5, so what's your feeling for this race and how fantastic is it actually being back here in Zolder?
It's good that, I mean, DTM has been a very long way coming back to Zolder, and it's good to see a lot of people here. It's a great event for the track. Starting P5, obviously, it's not so easy to overtake on the track. It's very fun to drive. So a good start is crucial, and hopefully we can battle with the front runners.
I'm sure you're going to push really hard. So best of luck, Robin. Thank you so much. Back to the commentator.
Thank you so much. Great to see Robin and René turning their hands at becoming chocolatiers rather than brilliant racing drivers, which of course they both are. And there we can see Loic Duval in the final stages of preparation as he puts his protective material on. Loic Duval, and there to the left-hand side of your picture is one Mr. Jake Dennis. So Jake then for the Aston Martin R Motorsport team. His qualifying time, a 1:22.215, gives him a P13 start. So Jake Dennis there, his car looks absolutely brilliant in my opinion. The Aston Martin Vantage DTM car looks an absolute piece, and I have to say I love the grey colour. It's kind of almost like primer, isn't it? But and Jake Dennis certainly knows how to propel that car. There is the number 27 car of Jonathan Aberdeen. Lots of talking about Jonathan Aberdeen at Hockenheim. Will we be doing the same today here at Zolder? Well, time will tell, because the race time is coming up not far away now.
And now I'm here with a living legend, with Harald Groß, because back then when it started here, the whole history of DTM, a man who wrote history, is indeed Harald, because Harald, in 1984, the very first race, you actually won. Do you remember what it was like back then?
Ja, ich kann mich sehr, sehr gut erinnern. Wir waren mit rund 30 Autos am Start und es waren knallharte Zweikämpfe mit Hans Stuck. Und 2 Runden vor Schluss hatte ich das glücklichere Ende. Jeder von uns konnte gewinnen. Und durch die extremen Zweikämpfe mit dem BMW 635 hatte dann vorne links ein Rad verloren und war der Glückliche und habe dann gewonnen. Aber das ganze Rennen war extrem vom Kontaktracing bestätigt, war toll, war einfach toll, ja.
So obviously Harald does remember very well, because back then when he won the very first race, it was very close with Hans Stuck, and he was very lucky to win in the end, and Hans Stuck lost a wheel, so it was his fortune that he won in the end. It was a lot of contact back then. And you're also actually doing the Touring Car Classic here in Zolder, and the qualifying already took place, and I think in your class you were number 1, right?
Ja, auch wieder Nummer 1, wieder Pole Position. Insgesamt Dritter, aber in meiner Klasse vorne, und ich bin sehr, sehr glücklich, weil ich habe hier insgesamt 7 Mal gewonnen und eigentlich war Zolder auch mein Wohnzimmer.
So Zolder really is his favorite racetrack. All in all, he won here 7 times. So let's cross our fingers that Harald is going to win in the Touring Car Classics race as well today. We're crossing our fingers. But now let's have a look at DTM, and here's your commentator. Thank you, Harald.
Verena, I am so glad that you translated that, because I had real fears that I was going to have to try and tell you what Harold was saying, and I'm not brilliant at German language conversion, it has to be said. Harold Groves then, the first winner here when DTM was here in Zolder, and of course pole position, then taking part in those historic classics today as we look at Philipp Eng. Now, just a few moments ago, I was extolling the virtues of driver number 76, Jake Dennis. Let's hear from him.
So I'm here with Jake Dennis. You're the fastest Aston Martin out in the field, starting in P13. The sun is shining. We're at Zolder. So how excited are you about that? But how tough, honestly, is this race going to be, do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be super tough. Obviously, qualifying went well for us. We ended up a lot closer than what we thought we would be. To finish top Aston's great, but only gave me 1 position. But to my teammates. But yeah, I'm super excited for the race. It's going to be really challenging for the drivers. The tyre deck is massive. As we've seen in the testing in FP1, FP2. So that's going to be super challenging. Of like, if you pit too early, then you're going to be too slow at the end, and if you stop too late, then you get massively undercut. So it's going to be different strategies you'll see throughout the race for sure. Hopefully we pick the right one. We need a bit of luck to get into the points, but yeah, I'll be pushing flat out.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers. Thank you very much. Best of luck, and back to you.
Well, Jake Dennis tells us a story there. He says the tyre deck is absolutely massive. Now, of course, put this in mind. It's mandatory for the DTM drivers to make 1 stop. Doesn't mean they only have to make 1 stop. Just bear that in mind. Sheldon van der Linde then in car number 31, rookie into his first season of the DTM. What a good qualifying he had. He's going from P4 on the grid, and bear in mind he backs his performance up from Hockenheim with that qualifying position. He took a P6 and a P14 at Hockenheim. Very good debut indeed. Former champion Bruno Spangler drives the BMW Bank BMW M4 DTM, driver number 7. He put the car P3, so good quali from Bruno Spangler into the top 3 in terms of qualifying. Do bear in mind it was super tight in qualifying, with the top 8 places merely tenths apart. And from our helicopter shot, you can see how this 4-kilometre circuit unwinds through the trees here. Some 10 turns, 4 of them left, 6 of them right. However, turn 7 is a right, left, right, actually. But there, it just unwinds. It's an extraordinary place where you can get really, really close to the action. So as a race fan, it's a great place to be. René Rast then, a 1:21.349 was enough to give him P2 on the grid. So bearing in mind that René Rast comes here with a rich vein of confidence, if you like, having taken the race win in Hockenheim in race 2. So René Rast then should be feeling good. And his qualifying would suggest that that is the case. And Marco Wittmann, you can never discount the man. He won race 1, of course, at Hockenheim, a 2-time DTM champion, and he's put the car on pole position. As we heard from him earlier on, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be tricky. But he has put himself in the best possible place to take advantage of running right at the front of the pack, certainly at the start of the race. So Marco Wittmann and the RMG team will be working hard to make sure that he maintains that P1 position. Marco Wittmann then, 2-time DTM champion, and going from pole position as the DTM returns to Zolder then. Following our last appearance here, we're back in Belgium, and there is the circuit. Bathed in sunshine for this afternoon, we're looking forward to the race. Zolder, just 77 kilometers from Brussels. 22 DTM races since 1984. An extraordinary area, very green, very lush, and some wonderful architecture, as you can see. And we have been welcomed back into Belgium with open arms, it has to be said. And this is the circuit as it unwinds. And of course, the venue, extraordinarily, for the DTM opening round back in 1984. A good crowd have flocked to Zolder to enjoy day one of the two-day race weekend here. And Marco Wittmann goes from P1 on the grid. Pole position for Marco Wittmann. And as we understand it, the track will be hard on tyres. The temperature and ambient temperature will also play their part in terms of the tyre wear. Now, it is mandatory in the DTM for you to make one pit stop. It's not necessarily the only pit stop that you will see, as we think that some various cunning strategies will be used during the course of the race today. Maybe we'll see two stops where drivers opt. Now, the weather conditions are lovely today. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be altogether different. Now, bearing in mind the tyre allocation that a DTM driver and teams have over the course of the weekend, if it were to be wet tomorrow, therefore you could gamble and use, you know, a greater proportion of slick weather tyres today, thinking that, do you know what, we're not going to need them on Sunday, therefore we can get fresh rubber on. However, that is playing into the hands of the weather gods, of course, and hoping that it is going to rain. Let's take a look at the grid then for this race. Going from pole position, Marco Wittmann, P1, René Rast, P2. The second row of the grid sees Bruno Spangler, P3, and Sheldon van der Linde, P4. That BMW lockout on row 2. Local boy Robin Fri'nds goes from P5 with Timo Glock alongside him. Going to be a danger man from P6. Philip Eng and Nico Muller, P7 and P8, before we see Joel Eriksson and Jamie Green on the 5th row of the grid. To the 6th row, we find Pietro Fittipaldi and Jonathan Aberdeen. Occupying that 6th row, P11 and P12. Jake Dennis and Loic Duval, P13 and P14. Jake Dennis, the best of the R Motorsport Aston Martins, ahead of two of his teammates, Danny Juncadella and Paul de Resta. Then it's Ferdinand Habsburg and Mike Rockenfeller pushed to the back of the grid for working on the car during the Parc Fermé conditions after qualifying. A thumbs up then from René Rast, already a race winner this year, chased Gary Paffett all the way to the championship last year. Is this going to be René Rast's year? Will it be another year for Marco Wittmann? We're still, of course, in the early stages of the season and a lot of racing to come. There you can see unfold on the left-hand side of the screen this Zolder circuit. Every driver has said it's a tight, challenging one. Alongside me is Brian Oliver. Been some time before I've been able to bring you into this broadcast. Welcome, Brian. Welcome to Zolder. Every driver has talked about how challenging this track is going to be. There's a lot for them to cope with. Tyre deck, high curbs in places. A very dry and quite warm track now as well. So we're expecting the strategies perhaps to be muddled up, aren't we?
Yeah, good afternoon, Dave. It could be all about strategy. When we were watching the qualifying this morning, we were expecting the lap times to increase as the ambient temperature went up and as the track rubbered in, and yet the lap times were not coming down. The times were not getting faster, and that has pointed the finger towards strategy in this race, hasn't it? It could be about tyres. There are so many factors, and as you say, high curbs, a track that the drivers don't know, and a temperature at the moment that I believe is higher than at any other point during the preparations for this weekend.
You're absolutely right. The ambient temperature we have and the track temperature we have across the practice sessions and the qualies, it's the highest it's been. We saw at Hockenheim with the DTM and a number of changes to DTM in 2019, and one of the changes is launch control. Having been outlawed and us not having launch control, well, this proved to be something of a problem in terms of wheel spin for a number of the drivers at the start of the race in Hockenheim. So we now have a kind of a launch control light where the drivers can use launch control, and that limits the wheel spin, if you like, up to about 25 kilometers per hour. So we'll see how they are able to use that at the start of this race, which is literally only minutes away now as the cars are off on their installation lap. There's Marco Wittmann, René Rast, Bruno Spangler, Sheldon van der Linde, Robin Fri'nds, Timo Glock. Then we see the number 25 car of Philip Eng. Then it's Nico Muller, Joel Eriksson. Then Jamie Green in the number 53 car. 21 is, of course, driven by Pietro Fittipaldi as all the cars come running through now, and the grid graphics at the bottom of the screen to remind you of who's going from where. And Mike Rockenfeller with the most work to do right from the back of the grid. Does Robin Fri'nds have any advantage here by being a local boy? Goes from P5 on the grid. We will see as the race unfolds. So 10 turns await them, 4 left, 6 right-handers. Track was built back in 1963. And as you can see, it's one that is considered very much an old-school circuit. It's a wonderful heli shot then as the cars make their way up towards turn number 7 now, which is that kind of triple apex turn 7. And there the cars go through and will then head down and veering to the right-hand side towards turn number 8 as we pick them up now on their way to turn number 8. So really good to have these heli shots here. And there you can see how close they get to the roads. Turn number 8 is almost a hairpin. Then heading up towards the small Jochen Rindt chicane before into turn number 10. Stefan Reinheld then in the center of your picture there for BMW, as you can see. All the teams preparing as well, and the anxiety might be great for a driver in terms of being inside the car, but it's just as great for the teams also, who share in the pressure and the stress right at the start of the race. So the cars need to be lined up millimetrically perfectly into their grid boxes. And Marco Wittmann, let's hear him being guided into his pit box now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come, more, 1 meter. More. More. Stop, perfect.
So it took a while before they could get Marco Wittmann to where they wanted him to be. They await the rest of the pack to line up into their grid boxes. The last of those is going to be Mike Rockenfeller, of course, going from the very back of the grid, having been put back there for his car being worked on in parc fermé conditions. And then we will be on 55 minutes plus 1 lap.
Good luck.
And we get the green flag from the marshal at the rear. Stand by. We are about to go. Not only racing, but DTM racing. Live from Zolder. The lights at the top of the screen for you. When 5 lights are extinguished, let's go. We were held for a long time. Good start from René Rast. Good start too from Bruno Spangler. Not sure Marco Wittmann got the start he wanted. He's going to lose 2 places right at the start. Sheldon van der Linde looking very lively as well, but Bruno Spangler leads. Marco Wittmann fighting over that P2 place with René Rast. Side by side as they go through the first sequence of turns here at Zolder. Bruno Spangler in the BMW bank car has put himself in front. A brilliant start from Spangler. Less of a good start from Marco Wittmann. He's managed to get it back into P2, but being chased hard by René Rast. So on this opening lap then, we pick the heli shot up then as Bruno Spangler and Marco Wittmann and the rest of the pack all then make their way through that chicane. And Bruno Spangler just nailed it absolutely perfectly. So the order is Spangler from Wittmann, then it's Rast, then it is Sheldon van der Linde. Good start from Sheldon van der Linde, putting himself past Robin Fri'nds, and Robin Fri'nds losing out as well to another. Joel Eriksson, you can see there in the BMW further back down the pack. Philip Eng with a good start as well. So through this almost light chicane, the Jochen Rindt chicane. And the first lap is about to be put in the book then, and Bruno Spangler is leading the race from Marco Wittmann P2. And there a problem for the Paul de Resta car. Paul de Resta is into the pit lane. We can only assume that it is a problem for the Paul de Resta car. Speed limiter is on. Push to pass has been enabled for the rest of the cars that are out on track, but Paul de Resta is into the pit lane already. So Spangler leading from Wittmann, from Rast, as they begin to stretch their legs a little bit now. Brian, did you see anything wrong with the de Resta car?
Nothing at all.
Early stop,
You would
perhaps.
wonder whether it is a strategic stop. I don't see how it could be, but particularly with tyre degradation this weekend, but it looks like it was just a stop for tyres.
Well, I find that extraordinary so early on, but who knows whether this strategy may pay off. Let's see as Paul di Resta is released from that pit stop. I really rather assumed that there was a problem with the car, because I wouldn't have thought that you would stop on the opening lap, but clearly they've done the mathematics, haven't they? And they've looked at the strategic call and have decided that's the best bet for them. So Paul di Resta has been in the pit lane. Of course, that will mean he's plumb last now, but who knows how the race will develop and how it will unfold. So the order then, Spangler, Wittmann, Rast, then it's Van der Linde, Philip Eng, P5, Timo Glock, P6, Robin Fri'nds, P7, then it's Nico Muller, Jamie Green, and Joel Eriksson rounding out the top 10. So it's a big train of cars then that's being led by Bruno Spangler, the BMW driver. There is the local boy, Robin Fri'nds then, who is running in P6. And some adjustments being made now to the Mike Rockenfeller braking bias, and Robin Fri'nds going quickest through sector 1.
Okay, Mike, we are ready.
Here comes Rocky, another one from...
Okay, was it okay to come in or?
Perfect.
Okay, so Audi Sport Team Phoenix
Now
running
it's
a
all about
strategy
tyre management.
call here. Tyre management, we can hear that. Also in is Ferdinand Habsburg.
We will fight with the Resta on the pit exit.
And of course, they will come up against Paul di Resta, who was in on the opening
One
lap.
Aston is coming from the back. Let's go.
So Mike Rockenfeller back out again then, starting from the back of the pack. They've decided that strategic call to bring him in early on. Ferdinand Habsburg has done the same. So already we have seen 3 drivers into the pit lane, and just for now, Marco Wittmann is beginning to put the pressure on to Bruno Spangler. But René Rast is going quick through, went quick last time around through sector 1, so the Audi driver that is currently running in P3, chasing down Bruno Spangler and Marco Wittmann. Robin Fri'nds is under investigation potentially for a jump start. So Robin Fri'nds then, who's currently running in P6. So you can see both Mike Rockenfeller and Ferdinand Habsburg stopped on lap 2. Paul di Resta stopped on lap 1. And there is Mike Rockenfeller back out on track once again, ahead of Paul di Resta. And Robin Fri'nds has got a pit stop penalty. He's going to have to add 5 seconds to his mandatory pit stop for jumping the start. So I didn't see Robin get away that well. But clearly he did. Race Control, of course, have got even more cameras and even more sensors than we have. And therefore, every decision they make is based upon the facts that they have at their disposal. And I have to say, Brian, it's not something that I would want to be in terms of decisions that are made, but race stewarding. And also under investigation for another potential jump start is Pietro Fittipaldi. I'm tempted to say this is the drivers getting used to the new sort of launch light control that they have.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because they had a completely different system in Hockenheim a few weeks ago.
No system.
And, well, no system at all. It did a different way of doing things. And they've had to get used to this this new start light, as we want to call it. And
forgive me interrupting, but Fittipaldi does get another 5 second, not another, but he gets a 5 second penalty. So he's the second driver then to have been penalised for jump start. Apologies.
No, and it's fair to say, though, that the drivers have not had a chance to acclimatise to this new system. We saw them doing some practice starts in free practice yesterday, but that's about all they've had, I think.
And of course, that's you know, every weekend that we race DTM, we do practice starts because it is so critical and so important to get it right. But I think you're right, it's familiarity, isn't it? You know, it's the first time of using that light system, and as you can see, for a couple of the drivers, it has hurt them. Robin Fri'nds and Pietro Fittipaldi being penalised. So we watched from the heli shot there. You can see the Sheldon van der Linde car. The Castrol Edge BMW. Bruno Spangler leading by just 5/10 over Marco Wittmann, who is P2. Then it is René Rast. And look at the braking, how much closer Robin Fri'nds gets going through that chicane. So Spangler, Wittmann, Rast, and here's a replay of the start then. Let's see if we can see this jump. It's not something I would want to call. Oh, tell you what, Loic Duval was involved in some real panel rubbing right at the start from Danny Juncadella. Watch this, look, as he dives to the inside there. 2 trying to go through that gap right at the front. And indeed they did, and both managed to make it through, but there we are. I don't think that really let us see the jump starts any more than, you know, you would need to have all the sensors and all the factors, of course, that they have available to them in race control. So Philipp Eng then under some pressure from Robin Fri'nds. Now, Philipp Eng was brutally quick during one of the free practice sessions, and really thought we were going to see great things from Philipp Eng this weekend, and still we might. He's currently running in that P5 position, chasing down Sheldon van der Linde, and Robin Fri'nds right behind him. So there is the Philipp Eng car, the number 25 Philipp Eng car. Taken some pole positions, but he's yet to take his maiden DTM win. Could this weekend be the weekend that Philipp Eng does it? So the gap between himself and Robin Fri'nds then seesawing a bit, as you can see, but only a tenth in it, from 3/10 to 2/10 to 3/10. So Nico Müller trying to get onto the back of Robin Fri'nds as well. Bear in mind the cars have got DRS to use, and they also have the push-to-pass facility as well. But on a track like this, where both DRS and push-to-pass can be used in terms of defence as well as attack, it almost negates the potential advantage that they have. All of a sudden, they're all getting much closer to Spangler and Wittmann. Spangler, to be fair, has just opened up a little bit more of a margin on Marco Wittmann. He's extended that to 9/10, and the next under investigation for a potential jump start is Loic Duval. So car number 28 then, the Audi Sport Team Phoenix driver who took a P5 at Hockenheim in race 1, maybe under investigation for that jump start. And given that the two drivers have already been penalised, I would think that it won't be long before we see that 5-second pit stop penalty come, as Robin Fri'nds takes a look at the inside of Philipp Eng. Brave, bold and determined move there. And even if he thought the overtake is not on, what it's going to do, it will worry Philipp Eng ahead of him. And Jamie Green taking a look at the BMW of Timo Glock ahead of him. We go on board with Timo Glock. First looking back towards the Jamie Green car, now looking forward through the windscreen. As Timo Glock, who's defending that P8 place at the moment. Jamie Green is P9. Then it is Joel Eriksson that's running in P10 currently. So that's the way it looks. Spangler has now extended by another 10th. So he's stretching his legs at the front now. He's up to a full second ahead of Marco Wittmann, René Rast and Sheldon van der Linde. But they are all concertinaing closer together. So we have a real race on our hands here. And sure enough, as I predicted, Loic Duval does get that 5-second pit stop penalty. What that means is basically when he comes in for his mandatory pit stop, he will have to be in the pit lane for 5 seconds longer. And that is the penalty that he gets. Replay of the start from Marco Wittmann then, who did bog down a little bit, and that allowed Bruno Spangler to go through. And that's where Bruno Spangler picked up the lead of the race. And René Rast also taking advantage as well, but Bruno Spangler taking a dive through the middle. So great to have these replays of the start of the race then. And there you can see Dieter Gas to the very left-hand side of your picture, and Arno Sensen to the very right-hand side of your picture as they watched from the Audi Sport Team Phoenix garage. So Jamie Green then, continuing to hound and hassle Timo Glock. And there is the driver that's running P3 at the moment, René Rast, at the back of that picture now. You can see they're all beginning to get just a little bit closer. So Spangler with 8/10 over René Rast. Sorry, 8/10 over Marco Wittmann. And then a further 8/10 over René Rast, who we're on board with now, making his way through that chicane. You have to be careful on the curbs. Some of the curbs are higher than others here. And in terms of tyre degradation, they've got enough to think about, but with those high curbs, Brian, the effect of high curbs is that you can do damage to the sidewall of the tyres, can't you?
You can, and we have seen the drivers just taking it a little bit more carefully, and I think, as predicted, overtaking has been difficult at this track, and those high curbs are definitely a factor in that, because you go over those, you can wipe out the sidewall of a tyre so easily, and they've discovered this in free practice.
So not prepared. It's the risk-reward calculation, isn't it? Spangler then 6/10 now as Marco Wittmann lights up a little bit more. So Spangler, Wittmann, Rast, then Sheldon van der Linde, Philipp Eng, and then Robin Fri'nds ahead of Nico Müller, Timo Glock and Jamie Green. So there you can see the gap between Marco Wittmann and Bruno Spangler coming down. René Rast coming in as well, and Joel Eriksson is looking like he's going to be coming in. So we're standing by for Joel Eriksson. Here he is then. And let's watch this pit stop unfold as the team go to work on the Joel Eriksson car. So the RBM team then, who of course rehearse and practice this pit stop, 6.6 seconds.
Stop lights, watch the white line.
So he's come in for his mandatory pit stop. And Joel Eriksson on his way back out again. We've got 42 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining, so still plenty of time for strategic moves to have been made or to be made during the course of this race. So the top 3 then, still got a little bit of a gap on Sheldon van der Linde, who's being propelled into that top 3 almost by the pace from Philip Eng, who's now right on the back of Sheldon van der Linde. And this then in super slow-mo is a big lock-up from Bruno Spangler. He controls it nicely, but what that does, of course, it allows Marco Wittmann to get just a little bit closer, because when you see the tyres lock up like that, your grip is compromised and you lose, even if it's only 100ths or tenths, Brian, you are losing because you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, and you also flat spot your tyres, and that's going to create vibrations, that's going to cause handling issues, so it's something they really want to try and avoid doing. And Bruno Spangler, even though that was a fairly light lockup, will still feel the effects of that in the car.
Answer this, and you may not know the answer to this. Did he lock up because tyre deg is already beginning to play an effect on the handling of that car potentially, and where once, because the race evolves for all of these drivers and their cars, every single lap, you know, the behaviour of the car will alter just tinily, won't it? And I just wonder whether the car was a bit lighter then because, or a bit harder then because the tyre deg is beginning to play an effect.
I mean, tyre degradation will come into it, but when we look at the cars that have pitted already, and they're all circulating 1 to 2 seconds slower than the leaders, so it doesn't look as though tyre degradation is an issue in terms of lap time, and it might just be changing fuel loads, but I think it's possibly the pressure of just Wittmann in his rearview mirror, to be quite honest.
Well, of course, rearview mirror being an optimum thing to say on account of the fact that cars don't have them anymore,
yes.
do they? Because
rearview camera.
Yeah, when you look inside the car, it looks like they've got a dash-mounted mirror. That actually is not the case at all. It's a screen that is projecting images from the rear of the car, because there's a new, to even further enhance the inherent safety of the DTM cars, there's this new firewall at the back of the driver, which means that you cannot have a traditional rear view mirror, because all you would see is the firewall. Here comes Jamie Green.
So we do 2 stops. Question?
It's possible. It's possible.
Oh, damn it.
Final position with Eriksson on the outlap.
Tell us.
I was really hoping that we would get from Audi Sport Team Rosberg, are we going to do 2 stops?
Spin the rear wheels.
And there was no confirmation from the team that Jamie's going to do 2 stops, but it's possible, was all they would say. So Jamie Green then comes in for his mandatory pit stop, and it might be the first of 2 potentially. Don't spin the rear wheels, Jamie. That's what the team said. I think he did a little. I won't tell on you. Jamie Green is back out onto the track again. Will that be the first of potentially 2 stops? We will see. In the meantime, the top 4, 5, 6, almost 7 are very, very close. And you can see Sheldon van der Linde has just been cracking on, hasn't he? And gradually reducing that gap to René Rast. Spangler doing a good job out front. Apart from that relatively light lockup we saw, he's been faultless right at the front of the pack. And we have still just under 40 minutes plus 1 lap of this race to come. So Bruno Spangler leading from Marco Wittmann. He's leading by 6/10 from Marco Wittmann. Then it's René Rast and Sheldon van der Linde. So with the exception of Rast running in P3, it's a bit of a BMW fest at the moment, isn't it? With Spangler, Wittmann, van der Linde, and then Philip Eng.
I think the man who looks to be on the move is Robin Fri'nds. He's been putting pressure on Philip Eng for lap after lap, and you can see that he is just eager to get past. That car looks quicker, but as we've said several times already, the overtaking is just not that easy around here.
No, and you can be quicker, can't you? But actually, if what Robin Fri'nds is probably doing is thinking, do you know what, the only way I'm going to make this work is to provoke a small error from Philip Eng so that I can take advantage of that. Unfortunately, Philip, of course, is one of those drivers that the reason he's as successful as he is because he tends not to make mistakes. But, you know, they've got nothing else in the armoury, have they, to be able to do that? He may well, as you say, he may well have the pace advantage over Philip Eng, but can't quite use it. On board with René Rast then. Brilliant shot, and there you can see in the cockpit of his car that new rear view screen that we have, which is shaped like a rear view mirror. And in comes Philipp Eng. Also coming in is Nico Müller. So this plays into the hands then of Robin Fri'nds, who's able to get himself up the road, of course, because both Philipp Eng and Nico Müller
Stop at the Dekra tower, 5-second penalty at the Dekra tower.
Here comes
and then we go for the pit stop.
So Loic Duval, one of those that's picked up those that penalty.
But I passed the Dekra tower already. I passed it with nobody to wait for me.
Now on the right side.
Stop, Loic. That's it, 5 seconds. Gets the go. So Loic Duval now can do his pit stop.
And we change to a scrub set of tires.
So a scrub set going on the Loic Duval car.
Go.
Nico, of course, held to allow Philipp Eng to come through. Here comes Loic Duval as they're stacking them up in the pit lane. So Loic Duval then, his pit stop longer than anybody else's.
In front of Rocky.
By virtue of the fact that he had to take that time penalty onto his pit stop. As you can see, as they make their way out of pit exit, they shortcut turn number 1 here. There's the Ferdinand Habsburg car. There is our race leader, Bruno Spangler. And now Robin Fri'nds is harrying, of course, Sheldon van der Linde, because Philipp Eng coming in for his pit stop means that, as that is the number 23 car of Danny Juncadella, and that looks like he's not returning from there. It looked really rather terminal. So Danny Juncadella then pulls the car off onto the grass, and I don't think it looked like he was carrying enough momentum to recover from there. Sure enough, not. Look, he's going to be out of the car. So the Aston Martin Vantage DTM car of Danny Juncadella. So Joel Eriksson is feeling the weight and might of Philipp Eng behind him now, as Philipp Eng has returned from his mandatory pit stop. Of the cars that have stopped, we've seen Jake Dennis, Philipp Eng, Nico Müller, Jonathan Aberdeen. There's problems for Jake Dennis in the number 76 car, and where that car is positioned, that car is going no further. So Jake Dennis on the exit of the pit lane, I think that is, isn't it, Brian?
It looks like it, and I get the feeling this could be a safety car. Both or two of the Aston Martins going in the same lap. What are the chances of that?
In comes the Jonathan Aberdeen car. So we think the Jake Dennis car, let's pick it up on the map here. The Jake Dennis car is in the pit lane. Pit exit.
It is in the pit exit, yeah. No, it's in the pit entrance.
So that's even before he's got to the exit.
And that's looking very hot indeed, isn't it? Need to get him out of there quick, I think.
Oh, what a blow for Jake Dennis then. Push to pass has been disabled. Here we can see Danny Juncadella out of his car, and sure enough, we do have a safety car that has been deployed now. Not only for the fact that Jake Dennis is stuck somewhere in the pit lane, but Danny Juncadella, as you can see, is stuck on the side of the track there. So Danny Juncadella going no further. Safety car for DTM means, of course, when it comes to the restart, cars will be side by side with the Indy-style restart. And all of a sudden, if Bruno thought he was under some pressure from Marco Wittmann, the pressure is going to ramp up significantly, isn't it? So the cars then being led around by the safety car. We have, we're not 35 minutes plus a lap still to run. We're on board with René Rast now. Now, let's get a look here. That's Spangler and Wittmann. Oh, and Rast losing out there, look. So, Sheldon van der Linde putting himself ahead of René Rast. Glad we picked up that replay. Thanks so much to the guys for doing that. So, René Rast then just takes too much of the curb, or is that a fault with the car? It looks like there's lots of lights flashing on that car. Whether the jolt just caused something to reset itself, Sheldon van der Linde was able to take advantage and put himself up into P3. So that's Danny Juncadella then. He can go no further. Now, Jonathan...
Safety car is going now to the last chicane.
Aberdeen had been into the pit lane. Now they take the gamble of bringing Mike Rockenfeller in under the safety car. Also Paul de Resta.
And if we remember, this is the strategy that René Rast used in Hockenheim.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting, pitting last minute under the safety car.
Yes, it is. So the cars will have to catch up with the Crocodile that's being led around by the safety car, which will be relatively easy to do. No indication yet when the safety car is coming in. On board with Mike Rockenfeller and Paul de Resta. Now, this is critical because pit exit has been closed.
After the line. Okay, what happened? That went red.
Yeah, because the...
Can I go? Is it green or what?
It says pit exit closed. Pit exit is now open. So Paul de Resta was reacting to the red light that changed just as he got there to say that the pit exit was closed. Now they've reopened the pit exit, so Paul de Resta can go now. Now, being under the safety car, that won't have cost him too much, Brian.
No, and I think he stopped in time enough not to pick up some kind of penalty from that, because he did make a very sudden stop. And do you think he did it before?
To be fair to him, I think he reacted as quickly as he possibly could.
Yeah.
I reckon the light changed just as Paul got there.
Yeah, that's a difficult one for him.
I happened to notice on our timing screen that it said pit exit closed.
Yeah.
So that was why he suddenly locked the car up and brought it to a stop. You're absolutely right. He stopped it within meters, didn't he? And that was the reason behind that. So, and then you could hear Paul de Resta on the radio saying, right, you know, is it green? Can I go? What? Let's see it in replay. Well, in fairness, the light was red. The light was red. So Paul reacted to that properly. Now, I wonder, in fairness, he has crossed the line. He has crossed the line.
I mean, he's waited, but if you're playing it by the absolute book, then he would pick up a penalty for that because he crossed the line, even though he did wait beyond the line.
Let's see. That's down to race control, isn't it? Not us, thankfully. He is caught up with a crocodile of cars. That's the Danny Juncadella car being retrieved and removed from the Zolder circuit here, which is a great shame to see Danny Juncadella out of the race, of course. So the order then, before the Indy-style restart, which we will get following the safety car, is Spangler, Wittmann, Rast. Then it is Sheldon van der Linde, Robin Fri'nds, Timo Glock. Then it's Pietro Fittipaldi, Joel Eriksson, Philip Eng, Nico Muller, Jamie Green, Loic Duval, Jonathan Aberdeen, Ferdinand Habsburg, Mike Rockenfeller, and then it's Paul de Resta. So on his retirement then, that is where unfortunately it went no further for Danny Juncadella, and this is where it went no further for Jake Dennis, sadly. There you can see Jonathan Aberdeen just passing him on his way into the pit lane.
So de Resta, they're going past the safety car. He's just been waved on to join round at the back of the queue. And this brings us to the Indy Restart. I have to say, this is something I love about DTM.
It's one of the features of DTM, which is absolutely excellent, isn't it? But you know, the cars go side by side. It's like starting the race all over again, in my opinion. So Bruno Spangler will be furious, of course. So we're on board with Paul de Resta now, who's putting quali laps in terms of catching up with the crocodile of cars. So Paul de Resta then, who took the car to a points-paying finish in Hockenheim. So of those drivers that have made two stops, Paul de Resta, Ferdinand Habsburg, and Mike Rockenfeller. Some cars have not stopped at all yet, including, well, it's the top 6, isn't it? Top 7, in fact. Spangler, Wittmann, Rast, van der Linde, Fri'nds, Glock, and Pietro Fittipaldi. Bear in mind, Pietro Fittipaldi, another one of those drivers that's picked up a 5-second time penalty as well, so he'll have to wait at the entry to the pit lane, or it's certainly just to the right-hand side of the pit lane for 5 seconds before his car is released. It's not only a 5-second penalty, because it costs you more than that in terms of time, because you have to slow the car down, stop it, and then re-accelerate before you can continue your quest to get down the pit lane to your box.
And that 5 seconds feels like an eternity when you're sat there with the engine running, just waiting.
Just. So here is Paul de Resta then.
Qualifying lap.
Well, you know, he's still got a good half a lap to do to catch up with the rest of the cars. Paul di Resta is currently making his way through turn number 5, whereas the car's, of course, being led, as you can see, down the start-finish straight now. So he's got another 6 turns to get around before he's on the back of this crocodile. But there's no word as to when the safety car is coming in. So he's got the time. And here is Paul di Resta now. So we are with the safety car at the moment. Safety car comes in this lap. Now, this is not going to give, well, di Resta will be on a flyer now, won't he, because he'll be up to speed. But it's quite a late call to bring the safety car in. You know, it's certainly less than a lap's notice, but Paul di Resta will be fine. He will get to the back of the pack. And
just take into account, Paul di Resta's tyres will be significantly warmer than those in front of him.
Indeed so. Yes, indeed so. He might be doing some overtaking very early on in the restart, particularly advantaged by the fact the tyres up to temperature and the Indy-style restart that we see in DTM.
Absolutely.
So there, safety car lights are still on. The indication to the drivers generally is the lights going out, of course. We've lost Jake Dennis and Danny Juncadella, regrettably. But we still have Paul di Resta and Ferdinand Habsburg out there in the Aston Martin R Motorsport cars. And there you can see the number 3 car catching up with the back of the pack and almost with them now. And he'll have done a very good job in terms of warming the tyres. So the heli shot then reveals where the cars are on track. And safety car lights go out. The restart grid, as you can see, as the cars go side by side. The last one in the pack is going to be this man who we're on board with now. Paul di Resta is almost going to get a flyer here, isn't he? Because there, the safety car goes in. Bruno Spangler and Marco Wittmann then side by side for this Indy restart. The race distance has increased to 55 minutes plus 3 laps because of the safety car. Now, as the cars cross the line, Paul di Resta has not made it, or has he? Yes.
Yeah, he has.
I was looking to see where Ferdinand Habsburg was. Well, Bruno Spangler does a good job. Sheldon van der Linde around the outside of René Rast slots himself in. So the 2 Aston Martins together right at the back of the pack, but Bruno Spangler did a very good job, and René Rast looking really racy here as well. Sensing the opportunity to try and advance, but Sheldon van der Linde is having none of it, puts himself on the inside. And René Rast now finds himself looking at the back end of that BMW. Once again, because of course that happened earlier in the race where he got passed by Sheldon van der Linde. Also looking racy is Robin Fri'nds, right on the back of Timo Glock. So it's Spangler from Wittmann. Then it is van der Linde, then it is Rast, Glock, Fri'nds, Eng, Ericsson, Fittipaldi and Jamie Green rounding out the top 10 at the moment from that Indy-style restart. So we run to 55 minutes plus 3 laps as Nico Müller dive to the inside then in the all-green Audi. We could see from a heli shot there. So the action always intensifies following that Indy-style restart as the cars go side by side. Big lock-up coming there from Loic Duval.
Duval actually made contact with the car that he was passing. Again, quite a big clatter as he went past him.
Well, Loic Duval is now chasing down the car of Pietro Fittipaldi. So, Spangler, Wittmann, and Philip Eng and Robin Fri'nds having a real ding-dong battle here. And Fri'nds, look, and Timo Glock now. So 24 minutes plus 3 laps remaining. Push to pass has been enabled. So Philip Eng then P7, Robin Fri'nds P6, Bruno Spangler P1. Still leading the race after the restart. Here comes Jamie Green and Nico Müller side by side in the 2 Audis then. So Nico Müller then going past Jamie Green to pick up that P9 place. There's Joel Eriksson, car number 47, who's running in P8, and now has Nico Müller for company behind him. So the Zolder circuit then, 2.941 miles, 4 kilometres, delivered quite a lot of race action to be fair, and still a number of drivers that have got to take their mandatory pit stops. So Dr. Florian Kamelga, of course, is head of our motorsport and Aston Martin. Let's hear what he has to say.
So I'm now here with Dr. Florian Kamelga. What a big shame. 2 Aston Martins are out. Do you know what the issue is?
Yeah, we have to investigate further. It looks like Danny had some issue with the throttle and Jake had some electronic failure. But as I said, we have to look into the cars when we have him back. The reality is we have to take these things in as tests. We're lacking test kilometers, we're lacking test time, and that's we knew that first couple of races could be difficult, and one step after the other.
Yeah, we've got 2 more cars in there, so best of luck. Thank you, and back to you.
Thanks very much. Well, you rejoin us as a whole host of cars come into the pit lane, including Robin Fri'nds, who has to stop for 5 further seconds, of course, for that penalty. So Bruno Spangler, from the lead of the race, is back on his way out. Robin Fri'nds now dives into his pit box, having served his time penalty. There's Sheldon van der Linde, Timo Glock. The one that didn't stop is Marco Wittmann, and also not stopping was René Rast. You can also see the number 21 Pietro Fittipaldi car come in also. And so the WRT team go to work on the Pietro Fittipaldi car and release him back out into the hot lane of the pit lane. So, as we were hearing from Dr. Florian Kamelga, there was a lot going on in the pit lane, Brian.
It suddenly got very, very busy, didn't it? And I expect it was when one car jumps, the others follow. And we've only got 2 cars now that have not had their mandatory pit stop. And when they do, that puts Philipp Eng in a very...
Well, Philipp Eng, as you're talking about him, is putting himself up alongside René Rast here and goes through. So Philipp Eng gets past René Rast. So Philipp Eng is into P2, and we'll put the chase on to Marco Wittmann now. Philipp Eng, of course, has stopped. He stopped on lap 12, as you can see. So the durability of the tyres will be absolutely critical for Philipp Eng in terms of running to the end of the race. We've got 21 minutes plus 3 laps remaining. Marco Wittmann is leading the race. Here comes the overtake from Philipp Eng then. Dive to the inside of René Rast. Good race room was left by both, and it was a fairly strong overtake, that's for sure. And here the Indy-style restart then, as the cars are all jumbled together once again. Look at the lockups as they went into turn number 1. So Bruno Spangler doing a fantastic job at that restart. So too Sheldon van der Linde. So René Rast and Sheldon van der Linde having a real ding-dong battle here over that P3 place, as you can see from that Indy-style restart replay that we've got there. And Sheldon van der Linde eventually putting himself ahead of the number 33 Audi, who now has a queue of Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller and Jamie Green right behind him. So René Rast in the number 33 car, yet to stop. So he's running on tyres that we think are probably reaching the end of their useful life in terms of degradation, because he's got cars battling him who have all made stops and therefore are on relatively fresher rubber. And sure enough, with DRS assist, Joel Eriksson is able to go through. Who said you can't overtake at Zolder? They were wrong, because you can, because here comes Nico Muller and Jamie Green. So René Rast, all of a sudden, I mean, he didn't defend the 2 Audi overtakes quite as vigorously as he did the one from Joel Eriksson. We're on board with René Rast now.
It would have almost have been pointless in defending because he has such poor tyres, so he had nothing to gain from that. Philipp Eng, he's come up from nowhere. He started 7th on the grid, and once Wittmann has had his mandatory pit stop, Philipp Eng will become the new leader.
Well, I said in pre-show, Philipp Eng was blisteringly fast in free practice. One to watch. Well, maybe so. We still have 18 minutes, or just under 19 minutes actually, plus 3 laps for this race. It's getting awfully hot in the comms booth here with the excitement, I can tell you. Marco Wittmann is leading the race, but is being chased down by Philipp Eng, and also Joel Eriksson, of course, up to P3. Now, he stopped on lap 8. Philipp Eng stopped on P12. Nico Muller stopped on P12. Jamie Green stopped on lap 10, as opposed to P12, forgive me. And René Rast, of course, running in P6, who's still not come in. Is he banking on coming in, doing one stop, and then having tyres with life, which will take him to the end of the race, and have fresher tyres when others haven't, and therefore be able to do some overtaking.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing what is almost the opposite to what he did at the last round, isn't he? Because he was the one who came in with the tyre strategy in Hockenheim, and here he is, dragging it out to the end. And I think he's going to look for a late pit stop, and then he is going to be lightning fast, and will be really interesting to see what happens once he has had that late tyre change.
Well, let's see. That was in replay then, as you can see, as Nico Müller and Jamie Green went past René Rast. And there, as Moser on the pit wall. Now, as I say, it was altogether easier for Nico Müller and Jamie Green to go by René Rast than it was for Joel Eriksson. But you can see he's losing lumps and lumps and lumps of time. So back onto the loud pedal for René Rast, who we are on board with right now, who's running in that P6 place. Here's our race leader, Marco Wittmann, being chased down by Joel Eriksson and Philip Eng. It's Philip Eng that's running P2, Joel Eriksson is P3, then it's Nico Müller and Jamie Green. There is Rast then, who all of a sudden is going to have Jonathan Aberdeen for company as well. Jonathan Aberdeen stopping on lap 13. Surely, no. Rast stays out.
Because René Rast is lapping significantly slower than leader Wittmann at the moment. And they've got to be seeing those lap times. So there's a strategy they've got in there somewhere, which they believe is going to come in to play later on in this race.
Robin Fri'nds sets the fastest lap then. So Robin Fri'nds, of course, who was hampered, if you like, by that time penalty. Well, he is not necessarily observing the high curbs keep off rule. Not that it is a rule, but it's the advice that has been given by various team members. And you can see there Jonathan Aberdeen perhaps under investigation. So while all this is going on, Marco Wittmann, who is still lapping in the 1:25.6s, Eriksson is quicker by 5/10. And looking elsewhere on the timing screen, also quicker is Nico Müller. So
I'm impressed with how quick Wittmann's lap times are when you consider he is on old tyres.
Super smooth though, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's
a smooth driver.
He's got a similar pace or a better pace than those that have just recently pitted.
Black and white flag being shown to Jonathan Aberdeen for forcing another car off the track. A black and white flag is only a warning, but it does mean that you're being watched by the steward, so best no more misdemeanors, that's for sure. Marco Wittmann has dived into the pit lane.
Pit stop line. Stay on the brakes during the stop. Change your brake balance to the rear. When you come out, you will come in between Glock and Fri'nds, so Fri'nds will come from the rear, and you will get a used set of tires.
Also in is René Rast. So Marco Wittmann in then, and the RMG team go to work on the Marco Wittmann car. A 5.9 second stop.
Watch the white line.
Here's René Rast, who is, of course, yet to stop into his pit box. So need a good stop also from the Audi Sport team Rosberg. I think it was 5.9, wasn't it? This is not going to be troubling that time, is it? Oh, no. Oh, that was an awful stop. Aberdeen and Duval are going to have to change position. We saw that, do you remember, from that heli shot where those two were together?
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, there he is, Mike Rockenfeller. It looks like Lloyd Duval has already picked up that change of position. And here we can see it in replay then. And from the splitter cam on the Mike Rockenfeller car, that was the contact. Bang. You picked that up. I didn't see that. Significant damage to the front of the Jonathan Aberdeen car. He, of course, running for the independent WRT team, the customer team of Audi, along with Pietro Fittipaldi.
And I would wonder whether he might actually get called in for that as being an unsafe car.
Well, he's not even been shown the orange and black flag yet, has he? So I
hope not.
Yeah. Okay, our race leader is Philip Eng then, who's got 1.6 seconds over Joel Eriksson. There he is in P2. Nico Müller is P3. Now, Rast and Wittmann have been in now. Just as we mentioned it, Jonathan Aberdeen does get the black flag with orange disc then to warn of that mechanical issue. It's not so much a mechanical issue, but the bodywork flapping there that you can see. So, of those, the best placed driver that's made 2 stops, running in P7, Mike Rockenfeller. So, it's a question of durability now, isn't it? So, we've got 13 minutes plus 3 laps of the race remaining. There is Jamie Green running in P4. And car number 47, Joel Eriksson in P2, with the Audi car of Nico Muller chasing him, and Jamie Green trying to get onto the back of that pack as well. For the moment, Philip Eng has got a very comfortable margin of some 2.2 seconds. So there, the number 27 car of Jonathan Aberdeen into the pit lane, and regret to say that...
Front bonnet. So you are going to be pushed inside and to have the car repaired.
Now...
Okay. Is the race over, or are we going out again?
I wonder, you know, whether they're going to apply the gaffer tape in the garage.
Think about it.
And they're going to think about sending him back out again, because it would be valuable data that they could provide to WRT for getting the car back out again if they so decide.
Yeah, it's very, very important just to get that running in. They haven't had loads of testing either, have they? So it's important to get the running in.
They are going to apply the gaffer tape in the garage rather than in the pit lane, which lends itself to me thinking that probably we won't see the Jonathan Aberdeen car back out again, but I might be wrong. This is René Rast then.
Could you see something on the top speed?
With a fault.
Yes, it's dropping.
Oh,
Take the data stick, we retire.
That's a great shame.
It is.
A great shame.
The brakes as much as possible.
I noticed his lap times were quite a lot lower after his pit stop.
Right.
Marco Wittmann, on the other hand, who had new tyres, is lapping fairly quickly.
Yeah, he's lapping in the 24.5s, isn't he? The only other one lapping in a similar time, 124.56, is Robin Fri'nds. Everyone else in the 25s or 26s. So that's a great shame to see the René Rast car retired. So he is out of the race. And, well, expecting a good fight back to come from René Rast in the later stages of the race, but that wasn't to be. This is our race leader, and leading with a margin of some 3 seconds, Philip Eng. He's got 10.5 minutes plus 3 laps. There's P2 and there is P3. So Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller. Joel Eriksson and Philip Eng, of course, making their DTM debuts in the same year. Joel Eriksson taking a win at Misano last year. Philip Eng still yet to take his maiden DTM win, and is he on course to do that with 10.25 minutes plus 3 laps remaining? Very, very good driver is Philip Eng.
He seems to have found something that no one else has got, because he has made such good progress up the grid, and now that he's in P1, he's holding an excellent gap, and he has really got a grip with this Zolder circuit.
And his lap times are supreme, 125.918 last time around. Compare that to a 126.2s for Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller. That's why his margin is increasing. It's up to 3.3 seconds now. What, of course, he does have to consider is, by pushing as hard as he is, although he's able to be super smooth because he's not troubled by anyone, he's not having to fight anything, what he's got to do is maintain the durability of those tyres to get him to the end of the race as well, because we know there are a number of drivers that are going to come on strong, perhaps right towards the end of the race, and I'm thinking of the likes of Mike Rockenfeller and potentially Paul de Resta and Ferdinand Habsburg as well. Those are the 3 drivers that have made 2 stops, and
having said that, a 3.3 second lead is a lovely cushion to have, isn't it?
Of course it is, and he's still got 6 push to pass remaining and 6 laps worth of DRS remaining as well. And you can see those orders on the left-hand side of your screen. Nico Muller has still got plenty as well when he takes the fight to Joel Eriksson ahead of him, as he doubtless will in the remaining 8.5 minutes plus 3 laps of this race. And yeah, you can see Nico Muller is now taking that fight to Joel Eriksson. So got a bit of a fight on our hands for P2 now, haven't we, between the BMW driver and the Audi driver, Nico Muller. The BMW driver is Joel Eriksson, and the Audi driver is one Mr. Nico Muller. And behind those two is Jamie Green, who's also fighting everything he can to try and get on terms with that little battle as well. And the more Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller will fight. So too, that will allow Jamie Green to get ever closer.
And
so there you can see as this fight continues over this P2 place. We saw a retirement for the number 76 car of Jake Dennis. Let's hear from him.
So very unfortunate for Jake Dennis. You had to retire the race. Do you have any idea what the issue is? Why did you have to retire?
No, we're still obviously investigating. The car's not back at the moment, and for me, all the power just shut down, so we have no idea what the issue is. It's a bit unfortunate because my teammate also had an issue which caused the safety car, which is perfect timing for me. And as I entered the pits, we had the issue, so really frustrating because it looked like we would have benefited massively from this. Obviously, bit of luck, but then obviously bad luck struck when we broke down. So yeah, I have no idea what the issue is, but we analyse tonight and start again tomorrow.
Hopefully you'll get it fixed by tomorrow. Thank you so much, Jake. Back to you.
So as we were talking about Jake Dennis, I know you were pontificating with regards to Paul di Resta, who currently is running in P7 and teammate, of course, to Jake Dennis. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Well, Paul di Resta adopted a different tyre strategy to most, and if you remember, he came in just before the safety car went back into the pits, and he started right at the back, so worked his way to P7 is excellent progress, and Aston Martin must be smiling.
Well, of course they need to, because having lost to both Jake Dennis and Danny Juncadella, they want some brightness, and indeed they've got that with the likes of Paul di Resta and Ferdinand Habsburg, who are running P7 and P8 at the moment. Lap times between Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller, as you can see, and of course we've also seen the retirement of the number 33 car of René Rast, and Vereena's got him right now.
How very unfortunate, René. Last race you ended on a high, and now this is happening in Zolder. What was the issue? What happened?
In the end, I lost engine power. We have to analyze what it is exactly, but I felt that there was no power left, so we decided to stop before we put the oil completely on track, the track completely on oil. But till the safety car, I was running smoothly, P3, and then the safety car came out, but then the race basically was over, unfortunately. Yeah, but sometimes it's like that.
Right, well, best of luck. They'll fix it for tomorrow. Thank you, and back to you.
Well, René Rast will, of course, come back from that. Bear in mind, in Hockenheim, race 1, he finished P16, went on to win the second race. Who knows what will happen tomorrow. Now, Mike Rockenfeller is another one of those that started right at the very back of the pack, and look at this, he's running in P6. So, you know, both strategy, overtakes, safety car, all of those things thrown into the melting pot means all of a sudden it's very, very difficult to predict who's going to be where come the end of a DTM race. We've got 3 laps plus 5 minutes remaining, and Philip Eng is leading by some 3.1 seconds over this man, Joel Eriksson, who's P2, and then it is Nico Muller. Now, in the last lap, Joel Eriksson was a few tenths quicker, 3 tenths quicker than Philip Eng. So is the fight back coming from Joel Eriksson now? As we reach the final stages of the race, DRS and push to pass becomes unrestricted now. So there is Joel Eriksson, there is Nico Muller. What would really play into the hands of Philip Eng here is for Nico Muller to get right on the back of Joel Eriksson, so that all of a sudden Joel Eriksson's too busy dealing with defending from Nico Muller that he's not able to encroach on that comfortable margin of just over 3 seconds that Philip Eng has built into the lead of the race.
And being at the front, Philip Eng has also got those 6 DRS uses and the 6 push-to-passes, which he can keep in his back pocket, so that if Eriksson does close up on him, he can put up a fight.
That's a very, very good point. Of course, he would need Eriksson to get by him to enable that, but he'll be hoping, of course, that he can keep his nose in front in any event. And at the moment, I think, sure enough, as I perhaps predicted, that Nico Muller is taking this fight to Joel Eriksson now, which is allowing... and a very, very sad René Rast walks away. Such a professional, though. He knows that he will come back fighting tomorrow. Just as I say that Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller are fighting hard, actually, Joel Eriksson has taken some time out of Philip Eng. The gap back now is just 2.8 seconds. So, and there you can see, there's proof of it on the screen, lap 33, 32 and 31, the margin between Joel Eriksson and Nico Muller. So Joel Eriksson is being unhindered at the moment by defending from Nico Muller. And that is not playing into the hands of Philip Eng, truthfully. All Philip Eng can do is concentrate on nailing every apex and doing everything perfectly, which he is indeed doing. But last lap around, it was a 1:27.0 for Philipp Eng. It was a 1:26.6 for Joel Eriksson. Race leader just goes through on shot. Here's P2 and P3. Joel Eriksson just looking a little raggy coming out of that turn. That allowed Nico Müller to get a little bit closer. So Joel Eriksson in the number 47 car, of course, already a DTM race winner. And now Nico Müller is virtually welded to the rear of the Joel Eriksson car. So, stand by. Are we going to get a change of place for P2 now? DRS in use by Nico Müller as he very nearly touches the back end of the Joel Eriksson car. This fight for P2. Joel Eriksson does his level best to defend. He makes the car as wide as possible to deny Nico Müller the opportunity to come through into turn number 1. Took a look at the inside, but Nico bailed out of it to protect both the cars, because he knows if it had dived to the inside that there would have been a clatter between the two of them and potentially a race-ending clatter between the two of them. So good driving from Nico Müller. You know, sometimes in your quest to move up a further place, sometimes you have to be the bigger man, don't you, and think, do you know what, this is just too risky. And you compute all that information in milliseconds.
Yeah. And Joel Eriksson's tyres, I don't think, are in as good a state as they might be, because we've seen him a little bit tail happy as he was defending.
Indeed, and I felt he was beginning to look a bit ragged, and proof of that is in his last lap time, a 1:27.4. Philipp Eng was a clear 1 second quicker than that, and Nico Müller, who's chasing Joel Eriksson, was 4/10 quicker than that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think Nico Müller has probably got the edge here. This is Paul de Resta, who's running in P7. Mike Rockenfeller, who started plumb last, is running in P6. We have just under a minute and a half, plus 3 minutes remaining in this DTM race 1 of 2 here at Zolder. So Nico Müller, is it a question of when, not if, that he tries to make this move on Joel Eriksson? He's not as close to him across the timing line on this occasion as he was last time around. Has he spotted somewhere else on this track where he feels that he can make a move? Well, only time will tell as this plays out. What Joel Eriksson can ill afford to do now is make even the tiniest of mistakes, because Nico Müller, like a viper, is ready to pounce as he reels in that BMW of Joel Eriksson. They make their way down behind the paddock here at Zolder. We're live from Belgium with DTM. And we are watching the battle that is going on for P2 at the moment. Up the road by 4.3 seconds is Philipp Eng, who is leading the race. So under braking then, Nico Müller gets a little bit closer. This fantastic heli shot that reveals this fight that's going on for P2 at the moment around this really extraordinary Zolder circuit, which is set in really rather picturesque surroundings. Lots of trees, lots of greenery. There's our race leader just disappearing on the right-hand side of your screen. In the meantime, Joel Eriksson continuing to try and defend from Nico Müller. I believe Nico Müller now is just easing off a bit for a real effort towards the end of this race, because as they cross the timing line now, they will have 3 more laps to run.
And Philipp Eng must be smiling to himself, because really, in reality, all he needs to do is keep it on the grey stuff and bring it home, because these two are not going to reel him in 3 laps.
Certainly not, because Eng's last lap was a 1:26.7. These two are in the 27s. So Joel Eriksson, for the moment, has got the measure of Nico Müller, but with 3 laps left to go, I don't think Nico Müller is done with this yet. Nico Müller has got 6 push-to-passes remaining. He's got 3 laps worth of DRS remaining. Joel Eriksson is reduced to 1 DRS lap remaining and 2 pushes to pass. Nico Müller then uses the DRS to propel himself ever closer to Joel Eriksson. This fraught fight for P2 that continues. On to the 3rd lap of 3 left to run in this DTM Race 1 here at Zolder. Where can Nico Müller try and provoke a mistake from Joel Eriksson to try and propel himself up to P2? Philipp Eng up the road, potentially undaunted now by these two, because they are slowing as they're fighting between each other. That is playing into the hands of Philipp Eng, who's rubbing his hands with invisible soap and just focusing on what he needs to do and getting up the road.
There are no points awarded for having DRS or push to pass left at the end of the race, are there? So
you don't get
Nico
a bonus.
Müller has nothing to lose but to give it all now, because in these last 2 laps he can just throw everything he's got at Joel Eriksson, which we can see him doing.
So Joel Eriksson then, I have to say, under the immense pressure that he's got from Nico Müller, he ain't making mistakes. And Joel Eriksson doing a very good job here. New into DTM last year, of course, for Joel Eriksson. Took that win in a really rather weather-affected race at Misano in Italy. He was utterly speechless. You can't say that often about Joel, who is one of the real talents in DTM, and the DTM field is littered with talents, of course. First met Joel when he was racing in Formula 3, and the talent as Mike Rockenfeller just goes past Jamie Green there like a hot knife through butter to pick up P5. Bear in mind, Mike Rockenfeller started plumb last in this race. And Mike Rockenfeller on a real charge now. How far is he down on Loic Duval? 5 seconds. Right. I was saying about Joel Eriksson, he was a star in Formula 3 and a star in DTM as well, and he's in P2 at the moment with Nico Müller still pushing him. Now, as they cross the timing line this time around, we will be into the last lap. It's now or never for Nico Müller to try and wrestle this P2 away, as both of them use DRS, one to defend and one to attack. Nico Müller not able to get to the inside there of Joel Eriksson. It's this risk-reward calculation that's got to be made now. Does Nico Müller bank P3, or does he throw everything, including caution, to the wind to try and find a way past Joel Eriksson for P2? We have the remainder of this lap to see if that happens. They have driven so well, the both of them. Great defending from Joel Eriksson, great attacking from Nico Müller. Oh, and Eriksson does make a mistake, but Nico was just not in a position to be able to take advantage of that. I actually jumped up and down in the comms booth. It's extraordinary, this fight between the two of them. That was a big save from Joel, to be fair, and Nico was just wrong-footed. He wasn't quite in the right place.
He was airborne, wasn't he?
He was airborne, so was I. Talking about quite a weight there. So Joel Eriksson P2, but this is going to be his first DTM win if he's able to cross the line in P1, and Philipp Eng has one more chicane to do. The young Austrian, a super guy, heads towards the checkered flag. Philipp Eng wins. I am absolutely thrilled for it. And here comes Joel Eriksson and Nico Müller.
And how lucky was Joel Eriksson not to pick up any damage when he went airborne over those curbs.
Extraordinary. Apologies if Philipp Eng was lively with his language on the team radio.
I was talking over it.
And straight, take the win.
He is a DTM race winner. Philipp Eng takes the win from Joel Eriksson. Nico Müller.
Thank you guys, thank you. We came back from nowhere again. Really proud of you.
Look at
Thanks
this.
a lot.
Loic Duval P4, Mike Rockenfeller P5, Jamie Green P6, Marco Wittmann led the race P7. Then it's Paul de Resta P8, Ferdinand Habsburg P9, picking up his first points in DTM, and P10 for Bruno Spangler.
Lucky, we had the pace but missed the luck. So drive offline, maximize the pickup, save fuel.
I have to say, I think driver of the race is actually Mike Rockenfeller. He demonstrated how to save tyres and use strategy wisely.
Wow.
Well done, Philipp!
I have followed.
RBM 1-2 at the home race. Amazing. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be with you. Thank you.
I've talked about Philipp in a lot of his racing career, and he's one of life's good guys. He really is, and I am absolutely thrilled that he's taken that DTM win. Thrilled. It threatened last year, but it didn't quite happen. He's done it in the second round of 2019.
Ich bin der glücklichste Mensch der Welt. Ich bin so happy.
das ist ein unglaublich, einfach geiles Gefühl. Ich bin so froh, dass ich hier bin und so froh, bei BMW zu sein.
I wish
Wir hatten ein bisschen Glück mit dem
he's
Safety Car.
happy to be here, happy to be with the team, and of course, happy to take this fantastic win. I think we can get that, Phil.
You get the feeling this won't be his last win either,
Oh,
don't you?
absolutely
It's the
not,
first of
no.
many, probably. Great, mature drive from him.
He is a supreme driver, and I have to say, so deserved.
From 7th on the grid as well. Whoever said you can't overtake in Zolder?
And do you know what? You know, I stand here and I talk about this race action as it unfolds, and the great thing about DTM is you look at it and actually throughout the pack, you know, you clearly you know who's P1 from qualifying, who's starting on pole position. Does that tell you who's going to win the race? No, it jolly well doesn't.
It really didn't today, did it?
You know, you have so many things that can be thrown into the mix now. You know, safety cars, strategy, all sorts of things. It's brilliant, and well done, Philipp Eng. Winning from Joel Eriksson, Nico Muller, I have to say, defender of the day, going to Joel Eriksson. You wait till I see him later. He learned that. You see, I helped him in terms of his defence there. I mean, you may recall, I think it was Thursday or Friday, when he handbraked his push bike to stop and talk to me.
Yes.
So here they all come then. And brilliant news for Ferdinand Habsburg, who of course gets points for finishing P9, and Paul de Resta, a very creditable P8 as well. So, you know, it's all good news, isn't it, as Philipp Eng. He's going to be one very happy bunny when he jumps out of that number 25 car, I can assure you of that. And it'll be a delight for Verena to catch up with him at some point as well, I know. Look, I think he's got tears in his eyes. And he is a very emotional guy. I remember in Porsche racing with Philipp Eng many years ago. My goodness, he's so, you know, he is emotional, but he's a great driver as well, and I'm delighted for him.
Isn't that great, though? What's what we want to see? Emotion and passion. This should be good.
Well done, Philip. He has done it.
Come on the roof.
And
on the roof.
Can I just say, by a margin of 8.6 seconds.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the starters of the first two row,
That
all
DTM
four of them,
is like another month.
But all four of the first four on the grid were nowhere in the grand scale of things, which shows how competitive this DTM field is.
Extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. I just so wish in this comms booth we had a camera and you'd have seen me jump.
I felt it.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
It registered on the Resta scale, I think, didn't it?
There was no need for that. Now you're being personal. Let's celebrate with our race winner, Philipp Eng, then.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely done a supreme job. And has nailed it here at Zolder. Philipp Eng, race winner from Joel Eriksson, P2. Nico Muller takes P3, ahead of Loic Duval, P4. Mike Rockenfeller, Jamie Green, P5, P6. Then it was Marco Wittmann. Then Paul de Resta, Ferdinand Habsburg, ahead of Bruno Spangler, Sheldon van der Linde, Robin Fri'nds, Timo Glock, Pietro Fittipaldi, and regrettably we saw retirements from the likes of Jonathan Aberdeen, René Rast, Danny Juncadella, and Jake Dennis. Hasn't even taken his crash helmet off yet. So Philipp Eng celebrating with the team then, who always have confidence in him, and that, of course, confidence is returned by, he's had a load of creditable results. And here's the driver standings then after 3 of 18 races, and this, Marco Wittmann, 43 points. Philipp Eng is P2 in the points. Then it's Nico Muller and Robin Fri'nds and Mike Rockenfeller, and of course 3-2-1 points awarded for 1-2-3 in terms of qualifying as well, and every single point matters when it comes to the end of the season. And Philipp Eng, P2 in the points and race winner here. And let's see his car cross the timing line once again. The checkered flag unfold and fell upon the roof of Philipp Eng, race winner at Zolder. That's a great shot. And there, Bart Mampay, you can see there. Of course, local for the team as well, which is, you know, it gives the team such a boost. Oh, fantastic. Love these images. And there, all three. Philipp Eng in the middle, Joel Eriksson to the left, and Nico Müller to the right-hand side. And Joel Eriksson, that was a big save, friend. Did so well to hold on to that. Brilliant. Oh, and congratulations from Bruno Spangler as well. That's nice to see. Great camaraderie, isn't there, within the manufacturers, of course, and across all the DTM drivers as well. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am for him. Joel Eriksson, though, what a great job to take P2. He's with Verena.
Oh, wow. What a phenomenal job, Joel. I mean, from 8 coming to 2, and you were defending so brilliantly. You did one tiny little mistake. We were all holding our breath, but then second place. You've got to be really, really thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, feels quite unbelievable, but I mean, I was pushing maximum through the whole stint. I know we were going for the undercut, and then, I mean, it's up to me during the race, so yeah, I maximized it, and then yeah, I saw Nico was chasing me. And then, yeah, I tried to not do any mistakes, but then in the last lap it was impossible because my tires were too old. So as soon as I touched the brake, I just locked the tires and went a bit wide. But I mean, it was a good fight with Nico. He really put me on pressure. So super happy for my friend Philip to take his maiden win. So yeah, really enjoyable.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joel. And back to you.
Thank you very much. And it was a brilliant fight between Nico Müller and Joel Eriksson for that P2 place, and Joel credited Nico Müller there for pushing him very, very hard. But in the end, his tyre deg did make a mistake, but he was able to save it from there. And I still think Nico will be furious that he wasn't able to quite take advantage of that. Wasn't quite close enough at that particular point. But there we have it. That's motor racing, and that's why we love it. Philipp Eng, P1, Joel Eriksson, P2, Nico Müller, P3, and the podium awaits. And there you can see the dignitaries standing by for the trophy presentations then to be made. Philipp Eng, race winner at last, Verena.
Finally, at last, your maiden victory. Congratulations. And considering you came from P7, I mean, just tell me, how does it feel?
I'm the luckiest and happiest guy on earth right now. I can't describe. This is a very special feeling. I was dreaming of this many, many times in difficult nights when things didn't go to plan. But I'm just the happiest guy alive. I have to thank BMW and my team for a perfect strategy. We were lucky with the safety car, of course, but in racing there is always a factor of luck. And I just executed well, so here I am. It's the best feeling in the world.
And you did so well. Thank you so much. Enjoy the moment up there. And now back to the commentator.
Well, thank you so much. And Philip there, as is expected of him, actually, paying due credit to the team. And also, he's very self-deprecating, you know, saying that, you know, luck played a part and, you know, all I could do was execute what I could execute. But today the cards ran in my favour.
And you make your own luck as well, don't you? Hey?
Such a grounded guy, you know, and, you know, so deserving of that first DTM win. Well, that team are going to be very happy, and they're going to be sharing in the celebrations, and a slug or two, I would suggest, of the carbon when it is uncorked on the podium as Philipp Eng makes his way there now. This extraordinary Zolder circuit. There's Nico Müller to the right-hand side of your picture. And the congratulations continuing as the drivers make their way towards the podium here at Zolder. Congratulations all round then. You win and lose as a team, and we say it so often, don't we? But all those engineers that work many, many hours to give the drivers the best they can.
The 83rd victory of BMW. Here where all the DTM history began, where in 1984 the first BMW victory was done. And made by Harald Groß, who's driving the Touring Car Classics. At this weekend.
So there is Joel Eriksson. Just listening in to Ollie Sittler there in terms of some of the facts here of DTM at Zolder, and also BMW here at Zolder.
And here he is, the first victory in his career. Congratulations to today's winner of race 3. Congratulations, Philipp Eng.
Here is Philipp Eng then, about to take to the top step of the podium. It won't be the only time. Here comes Joel Eriksson then to take P2.
And we got one guy missing. Clap your hands for place 3 for Nico Muller, the Swiss guy.
So, Philipp Eng, Joel Eriksson, and here comes Nico Muller. Chris Nissan there to make trophy presentations along with David Coulthard.
Team RBM, Bert Mampai.
And Bert Mampai then, team boss, local team to Zolder here.
Congratulations to all 4 of you, and now we got the national anthem of Austria for our winner, Philipp Eng. Congratulations.
Plays out then for Philipp Eng. Just mentioned he finished 8.6 seconds ahead of
with the winning driver out of the
feeling
hands
that
from
Eriksson
Mr.
really did run out of tyres at the end, didn't he?
Formula 1 and DTM driver. The big trophy for Philipp Eng.
So David Coulthard then makes the trophy presentation to Philipp Eng. Well done, Philipp.
The trophy for Bert Mampai, the head of BMW.
So Chris Nissan, then former DTM driver,
Belgian guy, congratulations.
held various management positions in motorsport, and makes the trophy presentation to Bert Mampai.
The DTM champion from 1987, and here's the trophy for
Eric van der Poel then,
our
the
second
1987
place driver
DTM champion,
of race 3, 2019.
making the trophy presentation to Joel Eriksson for P2.
And once again from the hands of David Coulthard, former Formula 1 and DTM driver, the trophy.
And Nico Muller then in receipt of his trophy for P3. Well done, Nico. So the carbon then awaits Unleash. However, photos must be taken first with trophies.
Not quite yet, Chris. You can stay on the podium. First we have the photos.
Yes, Chris, Eric and David ready to make haste their escape
Very wise.
from the podium.
And as I see, when the photographers are finished and ready,
Ollie Sittler then, the man
thank
that's
you guys,
charged with the
now,
podium
gentlemen,
presentations.
let the champagne spray!
So here comes the carbon champagne then, and oh, Philipp, you lost out because Nico was ahead of you. Oh, a great open from Joel Eriksson. Love these celebrations. Some poor unsuspecting engineer is going to get covered. Love it. Supreme celebrations. A race full of stories, truthfully. That was DTM Race 1. From Zolder. And of course, we look at the result today. Does that tell us who's going to be race winner tomorrow? Of course it doesn't. And that's why we love the DTM.
What an amazing race here in Zolder, and we just saw a fun champagne party up there, and that was the maiden win of Philipp Eng, so that was pretty exciting. And we're looking forward to the race tomorrow. You don't want to miss it, so here are the highlights of today. Enjoy. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.